Hello, my name is Ashley, and welcome to the Design by Sew and Sew podcast. This is a podcast where I talk about mostly fiber arts, so knitting, sewing, a little bit of spinning, and what I've gotten up to in the last few weeks. So grab your craft and maybe something cozy to sip on, and let's chat. So for today's episode, I thought that I would just do a typical kind of catch you up on what I've been working on. So I have a couple FOs, a couple whips, and then I'll let you know maybe some future projects that I'm going to be working on. And I always forget to mention this. I feel a little awkward mentioning it on my videos, but it does help. So if you enjoy watching my videos, please hit the subscribe button so that you're alerted when I do release a new video, and then you don't miss out on future videos that I release. Your support in subscribing or even just liking or commenting on the videos really does help my channel to grow. So I really appreciate that, and I thank you so much for that. Okay, putting that aside, now we can talk about crafts. So to get started with, I will just quickly mention what I'm wearing. This is the Pressed Flowers cardigan by Savory Knitting. I made this last year as a knit along with Casey from Young Folk Knits. And it was just such a fun project to kind of brighten up the dreary winter months. And I've loved being able to wear it since then. So I used Elemental Effects Cormo as the main color. And then the contrast color of the flowers is Rainbow Beach, the Queensland collection yarn, Rainbow Beach. And I used two different balls of it. So you can kind of see the body is more of this like pinky, kind of purpley pink colors that fade into a cooler tone, and it worked out perfectly to blend into my next ball, which was cool pinks that then faded into greens. So let's start with finished objects. I have two finished objects for today. My first one is a revamped pattern of mine. I'll show it to you here. And it is the Out of the Woods socks. So I released this pattern probably about 2 years ago, and I've always really loved it, but I knew that it could just use some minor improvements. So I'll put up a video or some photos of the old version of the pattern so that you can see some of the changes. But basically what I did is I've added an extra size, so now it comes in 4 sizes ranging from a 56 stitch count up to an 80 stitch count. So that's 4 adult sizes for the socks. And I've adjusted the colorwork motif just so that it looks a little bit more spruced up, if you will. So the other color motif was just quite simple, and this one I added to it to make the trees just look a little bit better. They're bigger. In the pattern, I actually added increase rounds before and then decrease rounds after the colorwork section here, just so that it gives you a little bit of extra room to be able to pull this over your heel. It fits nicer. And this sample doesn't show it, but the pattern also has a colorwork section at the toe, an optional kind of vine that you can add in there. And that also has the increase section and then decrease after the colorwork to give you some stretch around those colorwork sections. So I just feel that the adjustments to the pattern just make it a better fitting pattern and more accessible to more sizes. So I'm really happy with how it turned out. I'm going to be tech editing the new updated pattern and just testing the new size and the new colorwork. So this should be released hopefully next month. So the pattern features a folded cuff with a little peek of the contrast color showing at the edge there. I have a video showing how to knit together your folded cuff, but you could just sew it down, tack it down afterwards. I just prefer knitting it. I feel like it's more of a kind of solid, secure option. After that, there are these cute little things called Estonian buttons, and I really like them as an alternative to baubles. Personally, I really dislike knitting baubles. I find them really finicky, and on a sock, I think that they stick out a little too much, and the potential to snag is just a little too high for socks, which are, you know, in and out of boots and pulling off and on, and so there's a lot of opportunities to snag. So I like this option instead. So it's the Estonian button stitch, and the pattern shows a video on how to do that as well. Then there's a colorwork motif of these cute little trees, some more Estonian button stitches. This pattern has an eye of partridge heel. See if you can see the texture at all. It's a dark yarn, so you might not be able to catch that. But yeah, it's just your regular heel flap and gusset, but with the eye of partridge texture. And then this option just shows a regular contrast toe, but there is an option in the pattern for another colorwork motif with kind of like a line going across the toe there. So the yarn that I used for this, the contrast color is the original yarn that I used in the pattern when I originally released it. It is yarn from Brine Dyeworks. Let me just check here. Yeah, it's from Brine Dyeworks, who is a dyer in Alberta, Canada, where I'm originally from. And this is the color Nori, and I think it's just the most perfect evergreen forestry green color. It's just so beautiful. So I had some of this sitting around in my stash that I used again for these new socks. And then the main color is an old special skein that I had sitting around, and I knew that I just needed to use it up. This is from Grenouille & Co., who is a dyer, I believe, based out of Quebec, Canada. And so this is her sock base, and the colorway is Cinder. So it's this gray with just little speckles of an orangey red. And I really liked how it contrasted with the green from the trees. So that's my first FO. These are done, blocked, and I'm going to be taking pictures of them soon and finalizing the pattern, getting it all ready to be released. My next FO I don't have with me. It was a gift knit for a friend who just recently had a little baby. So it is with her and the baby now, but I'll put up a video and some pictures of it. I made some itty bitty little baby socks for her and the baby. So the pattern it's called Perfect Newborn Socks. It's by Tabitha Gandee, and I've knit this pattern quite a few times. It's my go-to for newborn baby socks. It just fits so well. They're ribbed, so they stay on the baby's feet. You know, they've got a little bit of like elasticity and stretch there. Yeah, they fit really good, and they're just such a quick, cute little knit. For these ones, I used yarn from Curio Fiber. It was a leftover from a mini from her that I used actually in my wavy 80s slouch socks, the shorty version. So just that solid blue color. I had some leftover and figured that I would make up these baby socks. If you go to Curio Fiber's website right now, she's actually having a sale, 20% off. I think she's calling it Cozy Season Sale. But it's a great opportunity if you want to try her yarns. I've been really impressed with how vibrant and saturated her colors are. She just has a beautiful eye for colors. So go check out her website and try out her yarn. I've been very pleased with what I've worked with from her. So let's move on to whips. I've got 2 whips that I've been working on. The first one is a hat, and the second one is starting up another pair of socks. I really go in waves with my sock knitting. I will not do it for months and months and months, and then the sock knitting bug just bites me and I want to knit all the socks. So let's start with the hat though. So I am knitting the Manhattan hat by Tori Yu. This is the worsted weight version. So she has a Manhattan and a Manhattan light. I've only knit the Manhattan, the original one. but I've made this one quite a few times for different family members and friends. It's just a really well-fitting 1x1 ribbed hat. So I've knit the length up to where now I am ready to do the decreases, and it should go pretty quickly. And this is just going to be a winter hat for my husband. He really likes grays and blacks, which is unfortunate for me as a knitter because they're difficult to see, especially knitting in the dark or at night. But that's his color palette. That's what he prefers. So I end up knitting a lot of grays and blacks for him. But this one here, it's a marl of 2 fingering weights. So I'll show you what I'm working with here. I'm using Patons Kroy socks, and this is the color Gentry Gray. I love this yarn so much. It's such a good sock yarn. It's very affordable. I just get it at Michael's here in Canada, and it wears so well. I think it's 75% wool, 25% nylon, and I've made socks for myself and my husband and other family members in this, and I've never had to darn them yet, and it's been years that we've been wearing them. So this is a workhorse of a yarn, but I had some balls hanging around, and I thought that I would use this one in the hat, and we'll see how it works out. I'm holding it with a special cashmere yarn. So this was leftovers from another project from last year. It's just a solid black color, and this is, let me look at what it was. This is Nordic Yarns Eco Cashmere. So it's 100% cashmere, but it's 50% recycled fibers and then 50% new cashmere. And the colorway is just black. So holding these two together, this kind of heathery gray with the solid black makes for a really nice kind of marled black. I like the depth that it gives to it, just having that low contrast marl. So this whip should be done fairly soon, and then I'll show you my next one, which I'm very excited about. Here it is. I have it in my little bestie bag. All of my little sock knitting or smaller projects just fit really well in this, and then I can either throw it in a bigger bag or just take it as is with me when I go. So here's what I have so far. Stick the ends in. It's a sporty cuff. I've gotten into hockey again recently. I grew up, of course, I'm Canadian, so I grew up watching and playing a lot of hockey. And in my younger adult life, I kind of got away from that and just lost touch with following hockey and all that. But in recent years, I've gotten back into it. And this is going to be a sports-themed sock pattern where you can add your team's colors to it. So you can see I used the same folded over cuff that I did in my previous pattern, the Out of the Woods socks, with a little pop of color at the top. And then you go into 3x1 ribbing, do your stripes. I've done jogless stripes, so you're not going to see a little kind of lip where the new color begins. And I've also done something here to make sure that you're not going to have any weird purl bumps in the contrasting color. So the stripes look nice and clean and straight. I'll let you guess what team this is. I don't know if you follow sports or hockey or anything. Like I said before, I am from Alberta, Canada. So I'll give you a few seconds to guess which hockey team I'm going for here. Okay, is that enough time for you? It is the Edmonton Oilers. Their colors are blue and orange. Whoops, I'm dropping them all over the place. But yeah, so this is my Edmonton Oilers socks. So the striping is going to end here. It's going to continue in the 3x1 ribbing, just in the white color. But my idea is I want to create a colorwork chart of the alphabet where you would be able to then duplicate stitch afterwards whatever team name or word or slogan or whatever you want on the bottom of the sock. So it'd just be a fun little kind of like peek at the bottom saying whatever you want to say. Go team, yay sports, whatever you want to say. I'm really excited. I think this will be a really fun pattern to write up, and it'll be fun to, choose your own little word or slogan that you want to say on it. So I am using, this is Cascade Yarn's Heritage yarn, just in the color white, and it's a 75 superwash merino, 25% nylon. It's my first time knitting with Cascade's sock base yarn. It's very affordable, but I'm excited to see how it wears. And let me grab my dropped minis to show you those colors. Okay, here they are. So for my blue, this is just a mini from Little Lionhead Knits. It didn't have a colorway. It came in a mini set, but I really love how vibrant this blue is. It just glows. I had a hard time choosing a proper blue for the Oilers. Sometimes they have a deep navy blue on some of their jerseys, and then sometimes it's more of like a brighter blue. So I liked the look of this. And then I found an orange that goes well. This is from, who is this from? Oh yeah, this was a mini from Stitch and Bits. And I looked online. I don't think she sells online. I got this from a local fiber festival where she was vending in person here in Victoria, BC. So it looks like she does do in-person vending, but yeah, I wasn't able to see if she sells online. But I'll put her Instagram handle in the description box below if you want to look her up. Along with everyone else's information. It'll all be in the description box below. So that's what I have going on so far for my whips. Yeah, this has been working up pretty quickly. Stripes are always very motivating, but also just being excited about a project. I want to get to the end where I'll be able to duplicate stitch in my little phrase. I think that's going to be good motivation to finish this quickly. So that's it for whips. Alrighty, I'm coming back to you after deleting a whole bunch of photos and videos off of my phone so that I could have enough storage space to finish recording this. So hopefully this one takes. But this final section should just be brief. I wanted to talk about future projects that I'm planning on working on. I always have 1.5 million plans in my head on sewing and knitting and pattern design, but I need to just focus and do one thing at a time. So I'm trying to do that where I pick something that I'm most excited about and try to follow that through to completion rather than just having a whole bunch of whips going where I feel like I just don't make much progress on any of them. So this next future project is, funnily enough, an old languishing whip that I've decided to pull out and finish. So this is actually a blanket project. I have only ever knit one blanket before, and it was just like a little throw for the couch. And that took me like over a span of 5 or 6 years to complete. I think I just get really bored with blankets. There's not a lot of interest with them and they're just so big. But that blanket is definitely seen better days. It's starting to get holes. I've watched it a few times and there's wool and polyester in it, and so the wool has kind of like felted and shrunk up and the polyester is just doing what polyester does, and yeah, it's time to retire that. So I decided, since we need a new couch blanket, I should pull out this whip. So here it is here in a large Ziploc bag. I'll pull out what I have worked on already. and I'll let you take a look at it. So this pattern, it's actually designed to be like quilt squares or patchwork squares that you then join together to make this massive, or as big as you want really, blanket. So the pattern that I used is called the Advent KALendar sampler. So it's KALendar. It's by Annah, who is Pattern Knits on Instagram, and I'll put all the information below if you're curious about it. But since releasing this pattern, which was probably 3 or 4 years ago, she's revamped it, and it's now called the Piece by Piece blanket. So she's added new colorwork motifs and more instructions on how to join the pieces together, how to create a border around it, and ideas on what to do for the back of your blanket. So when I started this project, like 4 years ago, whenever it was, I was very new to colorwork knitting. This was only my second stranded colorwork project where it was knit flat. So you have to do your colorwork on the knit side, and then you turn and purl, but continue doing colorwork. And I found that a bit of a challenge. I didn't really enjoy it. So that's one reason why I set this aside. And then another reason why I set it aside was I really wasn't sure what to do with the floats, how the back of this blanket was going to be, you know, for like snagging, pulling on these floats. I was trying to think of different ideas, like where I could then back it with a piece of fabric or what to do. But I've gone past that now. So my idea is to finish these squares. I'll join them together with like a crochet method. So they'll each have kind of like a cream border connecting them. And I'm not going to do anything for the back. I think moving forward, my next squares, I'm going to just be careful to make sure that I catch the floats probably every 2 to 3 stitches, just so that there's not a lot of long floats to snag in the back. But yeah, I think that I think I'll just let the top of the blanket kind of be the star, and we'll try to not look at the back of the blanket with all the floats. So this is a good example actually of where I should have caught these floats. Where is it? Yeah, down here you can see there's a few kind of long ones that might snag. So I might, as I'm weaving in ends, I might be able to kind of catch those and attach them a little bit more tightly. But then yeah, going forward, I'm really going to make sure that the back doesn't have a lot of loose floats. But how cute are these little squares? They're just absolutely adorable. And you know my love of sewing, patchwork, quilting, all of that. So I just thought that this was a really cool project that kind of joins the two of my passions together, knitting and sewing. So I have, I think, 15 squares done here. And you can make the blanket as big or as little as you want it to be, really. You just decide on how many squares you want to be the width and then the length of the blanket. So I'm going to just basically knit up the remaining yarn that I have and see how big of a blanket that makes. Again, it's just going to be a throw for our couch, so it doesn't need to be too big. I'd like it to be just enough to kind of cover my lap while sitting or lying on the couch there. But yeah, I'm going to purchase kind of the top up on the pattern to be able to get that piece by piece pattern where there is more information on finishing the quilt and some more color work blocks. She's actually released monthly color work charts too that kind of coincide with each of the months if you want to make a huge quilt that kind of goes through the seasons. And a couple of the months were really pretty to me that had sort of flower motifs on them, so I might purchase those too just to add to the blanket. But I'll tell you about the yarn that I'm using. So I'm using Brine Dyeworks again, actually. And this is her, it says frosted bulky, but I think she calls it frosted thin now on her website. But basically it is just a single ply bulky yarn. And what drew my attention to this is the wool is from Alberta sheep. The mill is in Alberta, so it's spun there. And then Charity from Brine Dyeworks is also in Alberta. So it's all just like very close to home for me. That's where I grew up. And so there's just that nostalgia of this all being from home and kind of like representing home to me. So making it into a cozy quilt just seemed very appropriate. So I have this contrasting color from her. She just calls these one-off colors pickles because she'll just gather her, leftover dye bits, throw it into a pickle jar, and put her yarn into that jar, and whatever comes out is her pickle color. So this one is kind of like an eggplant purple, but there's some different kind of nuances in there of darker and lighter colors. And then I do have the remaining colors. This is what I have left of the squares that I've been working up. So this is a nice cool gray. This is a light teal. And there's a lot of little kind of variations and color flecks in there that I just think are really beautiful. And then this one is a darker teal that has some variation as well. And then I found out that one of my local yarn stores actually sells this same base from the mill in Alberta in undyed colors. So I picked up a couple of skeins from them. So the mill is Custom Woollen Mills based in Alberta, but my local store here, Naughty by Nature, carries it. So I figured if I run out of yarn or I need some more to be able to attach the squares and make the border, I'll use this creamy undyed color just to kind of fill in the gaps of what I don't have for yarn. So that's the project that I'm working on in the coming weeks. It's just something cozy. It's something that I really want as we head into the colder months. So hopefully I'll have enough motivation to finish it up. But please let me know what you're working on or what your plans are for these cozy months that we're heading into. I love to hear about your projects, so just let me know in the comments below. And again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your support. I really do appreciate it. If you don't want to miss out on future videos, hearing what I'm working on, just make sure that you subscribe below. Enjoy whatever you're working on, if it's sewing or knitting, spinning, embroidery, cross stitch, baking, whatever it is that you enjoy to do. I hope that you're able to do a little bit of it today, and happy crafting. Take care until next time.